Yes, Ozzy, and that is a issue very dear to my heart. I am a climate scientist whose research is literally oil and gas emissions. I work on energy transitions, how to make this transition from a carbon intensive industry to a greener future for all of us. At the same time, looking at working with the people on the ground, so that what is this transition that it means to them. And so this addressing the climate emergency is very, very important for me. And this is why, as a scientist, I am running. So one of the first few things I would love to do is, we talk about TMX, would be to cancel TMX and stop all the fossil fuel subsidies up to the, 18 billion a year that we are allowing these corporations. And we are locking our economy and we're putting it all our eggs in one basket. And that is not the way to a sustainable future for us. If we want a good economy, a strong economy, we want prosperity for Canada, we have to diversify. And we need to diversify away from fossil fuel, but we need to center it in justice. Justice for the people, justice for Indigenous people, justice for everybody. And so some of the things would be, like I said, to begin with canceling the, fossil fuel subsidies, putting through a just climate a just transition plan. And if the government is not going to put that, I would love to introduce a private members bill to do so and ensure that we are catering to these people. This could include things like wage insurance, early retirement, retraining skills. And so these are just some of the steps we can take immediately to ensure that not only do we have a green future and a sustainable future, but we have a robust and robust economy that is not going to be damaged by future fossil fuels price decline or shocks that we are going to feel when the world imposes a transition upon Canada. Yes, I stand with all the land defenders and people protesting at Fairy Creek. I'm with them. We should not be logging our old growth forests. We have very few left on the planet, and these are some of the most diverse ecosystems. They are essential for air quality, water quality, wildfire prevention. Then there are numerous benefits to these ecosystems that we are ignoring and only pricing them for logs. What does that mean? We have a declining forestry industry in BC, but we do not need to log old growth. Quite contrary, we need to, revitalize this industry. We have second growth forests that are very productive. We need to move away from exporting raw logs and, making 2x4s to really having a value added industry in forestry. That way, not only are we going to be sustainable, we are also going to create jobs. We're going to create economic prosperity, and we are going to save some of these wonderful biodiverse ecosystems that are so essential to our planet. Yes, of course. As I mentioned, I truly believe that housing is a basic human right, and it should not be a for-profit venture. And almost, I think, 20% or more of housing across Canada is owned by for-profit ventures. So, we have all felt it. As a person who has lived in Quadra, what I say, my whole Canadian life, for the last 9 years, I was a graduate student at UBC, and I was paying 80 to 100% of my student stipend towards rent. Tell me, when somebody is paying almost all their income for rent, how are they supposed to pay other bills? How are they supposed to concentrate on their studies? How are they supposed to do things? That is a basic dignity that we need to give to people. So This is very important to me. And I think the other thing I believe is that, you know, there are young who have grown up in this writing and they are being costed out of this very area. They are no longer able to live in the neighborhoods that they grew up in. People who work in Quadra, who study in Quadra, they are not being able to afford to live here. People sometimes say, oh, there's affordable housing if you commute an hour away. How is that affordable when someone is spending 1 to 3 hours of their life commuting every day? Where does that leave the time to do other things and have a good, decent quality of life? So I would love to see more rent control units. I would love to see more generational and multi-family units come up. I would love to see nonprofit housing because, as again I said, it is not a for-profit venture. Maybe have more co-ops, more student housing, not just undergraduate, but graduate student housing and international student housing. I know how hard it is as an international student when you first arrive here and an immigrant, and we also need to have housing for workers. We have a large number of people who work within Quadra. So I would love to see some of these plans implemented so that everybody can have a roof over their head and not have to worry about how are they going to pay their next bill. I think that we need to be very careful that housing is a basic right and we shouldn't be using it for speculation and monetary gain. If we are just going to have buyers, be it overseas or Canada, who are just buying it and flipping it to make money, I see an issue in that. So I truly see that we should not be allowing speculative deals that are first of all raising the cost of people living in Quadra, and secondly, when you are just buying it as an investment and reselling it and flipping it, these homes are lying empty. We are in a housing crisis in Quadra, in Vancouver, and these are some of the things that I think that the government needs to take seriously and look into, because, like I said, I truly believe it's a basic human right and people should not be using it for monetary gain at the cost of individuals and the poor and the marginalized. I do not know what their housing platform is, but I can tell you one thing, that we have had an NDP government in BC who has gone back on their promises. We've had Liberal government in Parliament for the last 6 years who have made promises and broken them. So what's on their platform? I do not fully trust either of them are going to implement it if in power. Because at this point, what part of their platform do I believe in and what part of it is just lies and lip service, as has been done again and again? So what is different is that I truly care about the people here. I want to be the voice of the people on the ground, and I will fight for everyone in Quadra, even for all those who vote for me and the ones who don't, because at the end, this is beyond partisan politics. We need to, once elected, I am the representative of everybody who lives in Quadra. I am no longer a Green or an NDP or a conservative or a liberal. I am the representative and the voice in Parliament, the voice in Ottawa, and that is the voice I want to bring and be able to raise these issues as someone who has suffered these issues, who's someone who had these lived experiences. So what is the difference? I think is the authenticity and the promise that I will fight for you and I will continue to fight. That's a very good question that people ask me. I'm a climate scientist, and I told you I'm also a financial analyst and economist. So I love this because most people think that climate scientists do not understand economics. But here's the fact of the basic economics. You read the IPCC report, you look at what everybody out, the other assessments and scientific research, it's a code red for humanity. And the assessment is trillions of dollars in damages due to the climate crisis. So when people say my platform is costed, oh, and the Greens platform is too expensive. Let me say one thing. They did not cost in the they have not taken into account the cost of doing nothing against the climate emergency, and that is a far bigger cost. Look at can you tell me that it is more expensive for us to implement something rather than letting the town of Lytton burn to the ground when people are losing their homes? We are, it's a public health crisis that it's going to cost us in our public health. It's it's costing our the emissions and the pollution. It is a crisis internationally. We're going to have more refugees, climate refugees. We're looking at heat domes where the seniors were paying the price. So when people say it is expensive, they are totally ignoring the externalities that we have never accounted for. But at the same time, as I was telling you before, the way to balance that and the economy is we are going, all our eggs are in the oil and gas and fossil fuel bucket right now. When the world imposes a transition on us, and it started when Biden won the election, he canceled the pipeline. Nobody wants Canadian oil because it is the most environmentally and economically expensive oil. So instead of tying our economy to this, which any economist will tell you it is better to diversify than to put everything in one, that is the plan. The way to have a prosperous economy, a sustainable economy, is to diversify it, to make it clean, to invest in our future. And it's going to create the clean energy transition. There's enough research again out there to show we'll be creating a lot more jobs than the current fossil fuel industry employs. And these jobs will be green, sustainable, and healthy. It is not very healthy for the people who are working on the ground in these oil fields. I've done oil and gas research. I have been to these oil pads. There are leakages everywhere, and these are the fumes that are being inhaled by these workers. Let's look after their health too. Let's transition them to a better future. So how does the climate crisis and economy go together? They are one and the same. If we do not deal with the climate crisis, our economy is going to collapse. So in order to have a good, sustainable economy, we have to start looking into mitigation and adaptation measures and start diversifying towards a green future for all.